Glitch Productions just released its new pilot, and instead of just reviewing it, I thought it would be fun to rank all Glitch pilots from worst to best, as it will give me the chance to discuss the pilots I still haven't touched. To rank them, I will take into consideration the following elements: animation quality, characters, premise, how engaging they are, and whether they made me want to check out the rest of the series or not. The points for each category will go from 1, the lowest, to 3, the highest. So let's begin. I'll be honest. Prior to making this video, I had no idea Ultra Jump Mania was a thing. It was supposed to be a spin-off series of Meta Runner, but they never greenlit a full season. And after watching it, I can see why. I usually don't like to be too negative about a product, but this pilot is terrible under every aspect. The animation is poor and the characters don't even feel like characters. More like walking one-note comedic traits, which makes it hard to get invested even in such a short runtime. And there isn't even a plot. In short, this pilot consists of Theo navigating platforming challenges to collect coins, and he faces a giant crab at the end. None of this is funny, and despite being only 8 minutes long, it felt tedious. If I had to find at least one positive element, at some point the crab does the crab rave dance. Remember that? I admit that it made me smile. Unfortunately, Ultra Jump Mania scores 1 for animation quality, 1 for the characters, 1 for the premise, 1 for how engaging it was, and 1 on whether it made me want to check out the rest of the series. In total, that's 5. Sunset Paradise is another spin-off of Meta Runner. If I had to describe it with a single word, it would be mediocre. It's not awful, and it's definitely an improvement over Ultra Jump Mania, but it's not great either. The animation looks worse than Meta Runner, which in contrast looks gorgeous. I guess they wanted to use a different style for Sunset Paradise, but I'm not a fan of its cheap look. The characters are expressive though. The plot is very simple. Maggie goes on vacation on an island and chaos ensues. It's not particularly original, but at least it didn't bore me. Speaking of the characters, they are okay, and Ori Bori is my favorite. I will break a lance in favor of Sunset Paradise. The later episodes are better, and the show does improve, but now I'm only judging the pilot, which in my opinion is just okay. In conclusion, Sunset Paradise gets 1.5 for animation quality, 1.5 for the characters, 1 for the premise, 2 for how engaging it was, and a 1.5 on whether it made me want to check out the rest of the series. In total, that's 7.5. The very first video I uploaded on this channel was my review of the Gaslight District's pilot. Although it did have some elements I liked, overall my opinion was negative. Now that a whole year has passed, has my opinion changed? Well, not really. From a technical point of view, this pilot is wonderful. While I'm not a fan of the art style, the animation is great when compared to other Glitch pilots. The aesthetic resembles Tim Burton and Henry Selick movies, with a halved frame rate further adding a stop-motion feel. The world is very interesting, and the concept is fresh and unique. It's just not executed very well in my opinion. I understand that this is a pilot, but everything happened so fast that it didn't leave me the time to process what I was watching. And by the time it was over, I was left confused. I'm not saying everything has to have the pacing of a Kurosawa movie, but this pilot's pacing is so fast that it didn't leave an impact on me. I was a bit invested in the relationship between Mel and her father, but other characters failed to catch my interest. Despite my skepticism, I am willing to watch the next episodes and see where the story will go from here, and I hope the show improves. And from those quick flashes we've seen in the greenlit announcement, it seems the plot is about to get more interesting. So I will give the Gaslight District 3 for animation quality, 1 for the characters, 3 for the premise, 2 for how engaging it was, and 1.5 on whether it made me want to check out the rest of the series. In total, that's 10.5. The newly released Gameoverse pilot was okay, but I'm not grabbed yet. Let's start with the positives. The premise is quite original. Having the heroes of old games have to help villains in order to protect other worlds from being unknowingly destroyed by the hero is not something you see every day. In the pilot they failed, but I wonder how they could achieve this goal. I thought about it and came to the conclusion that maybe their best option is making a Sans-like boss. For those who don't know Undertale, in short, Sans is such a hard boss because he actively wants you, the player, to give up and stop playing the game. The animation is simply beautiful. It's 2D, but feels very different from Knights of Guinevere. The action scenes in particular are fun to watch, and the transformation sequence is clearly a reference to Sailor Moon. Every once in a while they showed these pixel transitions which I found lovely. It was also a cool touch how everyone had a different way to heal themselves, although I wonder the extent to which these heals can be used. As for the characters, the duo of Misinformation and Fold completely stole the show for me. They have such a fun dynamic with their rivalry, and I adore the versatility of Fold's design. The main villain is fine for what he is. Extremely simple, but it works for a pilot, although I personally find his design quite ugly. And then we have the main cast, where the first problems start. The idea behind Kit's character isn't bad. but in the actual show it didn't 100% work. The pilot wanted me to empathize with her and her loss, but her friends appear only for a few seconds. We spent more time in Flapper's world than Kit's. I understand what they are going for, and I'm sure that if the series will be greenlit, there will be more flashbacks involving Kit's past. But it's hard to care too much for the main character's background story when I haven't seen what they lost in the first place. As for Gobbles and Caboodle, I didn't like them that much. The former was quite annoying, while the latter just didn't work for me. It's possible I will care more about them in the future if more episodes come out, but for now they are just there. Flappers gives me conflicting feelings. I enjoyed this character, but I have one major issue with him, his voice. I don't know if it's just me, but it's not pleasant at all. It works for a character who only appears for a single episode, but if he will be part of the main cast, as they hinted at the end, it may become a serious issue for my ears. The pacing feels a little rough at points, and the emotional beats don't feel earned. It felt more like the third episode of a show rather than a real introduction. Still, I felt like this was better paced than the Gaslight District. The humor, too, didn't work for me, with the exception of Flappers saying, "Is that Mrs. Paper?" No! Overall, I hope this pilot does well, and I hope these characters are given time to grow on me. The premise is cool, but they need to show us more flashbacks with Kit. The villains are what really intrigues me, and makes me want to give the show more episodes before my final judgment. Gameoverse scores: 2.5 for animation quality, 1.5 for the characters, 3 for the premise, 2 for how engaging it was, and 2 on whether it made me want to check out the rest of the series or not. In total, that's 11. I'm the type of person who usually avoids something if it's massively popular and it gets constantly shoved in my face. For this reason, I waited almost 2 years before giving the Amazing Digital Circus a chance. After a friend recommended it to me, I finally watched the pilot, and honestly, I could see the appeal. I won't say too much about it because I will discuss each episode in depth in my full series review of the show, which will come out next month, but in short, here's what I think. This pilot definitely showed the potential of the Amazing Digital Circus and its concepts. The animation isn't as good as later episodes, but it's still perfectly watchable. However, narratively, it's quite limited. The main adventure is unengaging, contributing little to the development of Kinger, Zubul, Gangle, Jax, Ragatha, and even Kane. So pretty much everyone except Pomni. And yet, by the time it had ended, I immediately clicked on the next episode, and the next one, and the next one. So it 100% fulfilled its main purpose. It hooked me. Therefore, I give the Amazing Digital Circus 2 for animation quality, 1.5 for the characters, 3 for the premise, 2 for how engaging it was, and 3 on whether it made me want to check out the rest of the series. In total, that's 11.5. Knights of Guinevere is the latest show that Bleach greenlit for a full season, and besides the Amazing Digital Circus, it's the one I think has the most potential. For starters, this is the most eye-pleasing show the studio has ever produced. The color scheme in particular is gorgeous. It has blue as the main color, but unlike the Gaslight District with its green, it doesn't feel overwhelming. The animation and visuals, considering that it's the first ever Glitch 2D series, are absolutely stunning. Every frame is so beautiful, and more than once I thought this looks so cool while watching the premiere. I liked pretty much all the characters. The protagonists, Andy and Frankie, have good chemistry. Sparky is an intriguing morally grey character, and I can't wait to learn more about Olivia. Out of the cast, she's the one who caught my interest the most. Regarding the profanity, I didn't have a problem at all with it. It didn't feel exaggerated like in the Helliverse shows. I can see why it may turn some people off, but I found it natural for overworked, exhausted people. There is only one issue with this pilot. A pilot is supposed to tell you what the show will be about. When I finished watching this one, I was captivated by the world, visuals, and characters, but I was confused about where the story would go. They want to repair Guinevere, but then what? What do these characters want to achieve beyond that? It's no secret that this show is Dana Terrace's satire of Disney after what they did to the Owl House. I just hope the plot will be more than that. Overall, this pilot left a positive impression on me. The world building feels fresh and imaginative, setting up plenty of potential for deep character arcs and emotional storytelling. If the series has this level of quality in both writing and production, it has the potential to become a standout in modern animation. Knights of Guinevere scores: 3 for animation quality, 2 for the characters, 2 for the premise, 3 for how engaging it was, and 3 on whether it made me want to check out the rest of the series. In total, that is 13. The Murder Drones pilot has plenty to love. For starters, it does a good job at introducing the premise, and it hooks you right from the start. The choice of having the protagonist narrate the prologue is brilliant, because as soon as it ends, the shift from introduction to the actual episode feels natural. All characters, with the exception of Khan, were enjoyable. I was particularly invested in the dynamic between Uzi and Anne. Seeing two members of opposing sides forming a bond is a trope I love. Another character I liked who unfortunately got sidelined in later episodes is Thad, who is the only one of Woody's classmates who doesn't avoid her. The pilot's animation quality isn't bad, but when compared to later episodes, it's clear that it's inferior. If there is one thing that didn't work for me, it's the humor. If you watched my full series review, then you will know I actually have this problem with the entirety of the show. The ending with Uzi wanting to wage war on humanity while other disassembly drones' ships approach the planet is wonderful, and it made me immediately click on the next episode. It's true that robots against humanity isn't an original plot, but the inclusion of vampire drones who hunt other drones was an idea original enough to keep me invested. It's a shame the actual show didn't focus on that. But that's a topic for another video. It may not be the best glitch pilot objectively, but this is my personal ranking, and after years I still think this is my favorite glitch pilot. In conclusion, Murder Drones gets 2 for animation quality, 2 for the characters, 3 for the premise, 3 for how engaging it was, and 3 on whether it made me want to check out the rest of the series or not. In total, that is 13. Knights of Guinevere and Murder Drones scored 13. I think they are both great pilots, but I like Murder Drones slightly more. Let me know in the comments what you thought of Gameoverse and which pilot is your favorite. Don't bother telling me which one is the worst. We all know it's Ultra Jump Mania. As always, thanks for watching and have a great day.